Hello, this is Rich Dad. This week, as the US lowered its base interest rate, the market atmosphere is picking up. However, since we never know when the market might betray investors, we should check the upcoming trends in advance. Also, BlackRock has released a report on Bitcoin. Since this report comes from BlackRock, the world's largest asset management firm, let's review this content and check the movements of US state governments as well. Then, let's get started. Before the interest rate decision, not only investors but also many economic experts were divided on whether it would be a 0.25% or 0.5% cut. But with a 0.5% cut, Bitcoin and Nasdaq both made significant gains. Before the interest rate decision, not only investors but also many economic experts were divided on whether it would be a 0.25% or 0.5% cut. But with a 0.5% cut, Bitcoin and Nasdaq both made significant gains. If we look at past examples, a 0.5% rate cut always happened during financial crises, such as the 2001 dot-com bubble burst, the 2008 global financial crisis, and the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. So when they announced the 0.5% cut this time, it was expected that the market would take it as a signal of a recession, leading to asset crashes, but that was not the case at all. Because this 0.5% rate cut was different from previous 0.5% cuts. The Federal Reserve's decision to implement the 0.5% rate cut was seen as a strategic measure to balance inflation stability and economic growth. And since the job market remains relatively stable and in good condition, the rate cut was made, so it wasn't interpreted as a sign of an economic recession. So the 0.5% rate cut actually worked as a positive factor, and Bitcoin and Nasdaq experienced a refreshing rise. So they plan to lower the interest rate at least 2 or 3 more times, at least during the remaining 3 months of this year. And since there's also the US presidential election, we might continue to see an upward trend. They are forecasting a base interest rate of 0.5% by the end of this year and around 1% next year, though we'll have to see how that goes. For now, we can understand that they plan to continuously lower rates. As major countries led by the US have started lowering interest rates, global liquidity is expected to start flowing in earnest. Just like during the previous bull market, when the increase in global liquidity led to a significant rise in Bitcoin, if liquidity starts to flow seriously again, Bitcoin could once again surpass its previous high and set a new all-time high. Almost 70% of those watching my videos are watching without subscribing. Thank you for watching the videos, but since it only takes 1 second to subscribe, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe while you're at it. I really want to surpass 4,000 subscribers this month. Recently, BlackRock released a report on Bitcoin. Since this report was released by BlackRock, the world's largest asset management firm, many of you might already be familiar with this as it's a commonly heard topic, but it could be useful to review for clarity. Bitcoin was created to address the problems of traditional currencies, as many of you know. This report explains how Bitcoin can complement the flaws of traditional currencies. The first problem with traditional currencies is that they cannot solve inflation. Since there's no limit on the supply, it's difficult to stop the currency from losing value over time. On the other hand, Bitcoin is fixed at 21 million, and with the halving that occurs every 4 years, inflation is well controlled through reduced rewards. Traditional currencies face many restrictions when it comes to cross-border transfers and transactions, but Bitcoin, being digital, has no borders, allowing for almost instant transfers. Traditional currencies are controlled by a select few, such as governments or central banks, while Bitcoin is the first truly open global currency system. This is how BlackRock views Bitcoin as a solution to problems that traditional currencies cannot address. Bitcoin's market capitalization has already surpassed $1 trillion. Here's what you should focus on. Over the past 10 years, Bitcoin has outperformed all major asset classes for 7 of those years. This partially reflects the evolving outlook that Bitcoin will be widely adopted as a global currency alternative. In other words, there is a growing expectation that Bitcoin will become a widely used form of new money globally. This shows, to some extent, the increasing anticipation surrounding Bitcoin. These growth factors and characteristics have led Bitcoin to be evaluated as one of the potential solutions to address the U.S. debt problem. Since 1966, U.S. debt has grown from $1 trillion to $35 trillion, with a staggering $3 trillion added just last year. There are various reasons for the rise in national debt, but the most critical flaw of currency that I mentioned earlier, the fact that fiat currency has no supply limit and can be printed infinitely, has greatly contributed to the continuous rise in national debt. Currently, U.S. debt has increased at an unprecedented rate and scale. By 2026, U.S. federal debt set to mature will amount to $13.5 trillion. Of course, they could issue new bonds to extend the repayment deadline, but this doesn't solve the fundamental issue. So they need to find a solution, right? One of the solutions being considered is Bitcoin. Trump, aware of the severity of the U.S. national debt, is also considering Bitcoin as one of the means to address the U.S. debt issue. He is thinking about Bitcoin in this way. Looking at Bitcoin's long-term performance from July 19, 2010 to July 31, 2024, there were massive declines after big rises, but it rebounded even higher after each fall, resulting in an astounding 80,700,000% increase compared to July 19, 2010. This data shows that Bitcoin is a very strong asset in the long term. For the U.S., which is currently struggling with its enormous national debt problem, Bitcoin could be viewed as a strategic asset to help resolve the national debt issue. This is how it could be seen. Moreover, BlackRock's clients are also revealing that they are purchasing Bitcoin to prepare for the U.S. debt crisis. According to the report, BlackRock states that its clients see Bitcoin as insurance against the U.S. national debt crisis. BlackRock's analysts explain that because Bitcoin is not fundamentally exposed to the macroeconomic factors affecting other asset classes, its appeal as a potential hedge and alternative reserve asset has increased. To put it simply, the concern stems from the possibility that if the U.S. government's debt problem worsens, trust in the traditional financial system could be shaken. Severe national debt could devalue the U.S. dollar and destabilize financial markets. In such a scenario, viewing Bitcoin as a form of insurance suggests that it is seen as a way to preserve assets safely during crises, due to its independence from the traditional financial system. The statement that Bitcoin is not fundamentally exposed to the macroeconomic variables that affect other asset classes, this emphasizes that Bitcoin can move differently from other assets like stocks, bonds, and real estate. However, in reality, it is still affected by factors such as interest rates, inflation, and economic recessions. For now, much like the early days of the internet, Bitcoin and the crypto market are still in the early stages. As time passes and the market grows significantly larger, there may come a day when, as originally expected, Bitcoin could truly move differently from other assets depending on how future events unfold. The expectation that Bitcoin will differentiate itself from other assets in the future can also be seen in the actions of U.S. state governments. According to a press release from the Louisiana Department of Treasury, the state government of Louisiana now allows Bitcoin as a payment method. This means that people within the state are now allowed to use Bitcoin for various transactions with the government. Specifically, they can now pay taxes, government fees, and public service charges using Bitcoin. Louisiana is a state located in the southern part of the U.S., with a strategic geographical position as it is situated at the lower Mississippi River and borders the Gulf of Mexico. This state has left a unique mark on U.S. history and culture, playing various roles in the nation's economy, culture, and politics. In addition to Louisiana, several other U.S. states have already made similar efforts to adopt or allow cryptocurrency as a payment method. States like Wyoming, Colorado, Florida, Arizona, and Texas are creating a crypto-friendly environment with efforts at the government level to actively allow the use of cryptocurrencies. This is a strong example of how cryptocurrency is becoming more widely used and integrated into mainstream systems within the U.S. These movements are significant because they recognize Bitcoin as a legitimate means of payment, just like traditional currencies. If Bitcoin is officially recognized at the government level, it would greatly benefit the market in many ways. What does it mean for Bitcoin to be officially recognized at the government level? Legalization of digital assets. The recognition of Bitcoin as a payment method by the government signals that digital assets are being increasingly accepted as part of the mainstream economic system. This shows that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are no longer seen solely as speculative assets, but can function as a usable currency. Enhanced transparency and trust. With this recognition, there is a greater likelihood of increased regulation and oversight of cryptocurrency transactions. This could enhance Bitcoin's credibility and provide a more secure foundation for its use within the regulated financial system. Economic efficiency payments made through Bitcoin can be faster and involve lower transaction fees, especially for international transactions or large-scale transfers. If state governments allow Bitcoin, there could be cost savings and faster processing in transactions between the government and citizens. Increased cryptocurrency adoption. As more state governments allow Bitcoin as a payment method, other states or government entities that haven't yet adopted it might also consider doing so. This could accelerate cryptocurrency adoption and provide opportunities for broader use across the economy. Economic diversification. States that embrace Bitcoin could attract cryptocurrency-related businesses and investors, which could positively impact the state economy and offer opportunities for new industries to develop. At this rate, it seems likely that the day will come when Bitcoin and cryptocurrency payments are allowed across the entire United States. By that time, Bitcoin will have grown to a level that is incomparable to where it stands today. Now let's review the current Bitcoin situation and future outlook using on-chain data before wrapping up the video. The indicator you're looking at is the institutional short position indicator. Institutional short positions on Bitcoin are significantly decreasing. Over the past 5 months, CME futures net positions have dropped by 75%. The sharp decline in short positions since April is quite meaningful. An increase in short positions would indicate that many institutions believe Bitcoin will drop, right? But as these positions decrease significantly, it suggests that institutions no longer expect a major drop in Bitcoin's price. This reduction in selling pressure could increase the likelihood of Bitcoin's price rising. It can also be interpreted as a positive outlook on Bitcoin's future price from the institution's perspective. The Bitcoin Spot ETF is currently seeing the largest inflows in 2 months. After a period of significant outflows, this recent inflow could be a meaningful indicator that the market sentiment might be reversing. The amount of Bitcoin held on exchanges has hit another all-time low. Looking at this chart, I can't help but think that with 74% of the total circulating Bitcoin already held by large entities, maybe they've been trying to grab the remaining 26% over the past 6 months through manipulation. Anyway, it seems like the time is almost here. This is the chart of Bitcoin converted to a line chart. What we observe here is a bull flag pattern. The bull flag is a continuation pattern where the price makes a significant upward move, consolidates for a while, and then rises again. Considering the height of the flagpole, the target price could be around $150,000. Of course, $150,000 may not be the end, and we can certainly consider the possibility of Bitcoin going even higher. I will summarize today's video. First, the Federal Reserve's 0.5% rate cut was a strategic move aimed at balancing inflation stability and economic growth, which acted as a positive factor for Bitcoin and the broader asset markets. Second, according to BlackRock's report, Bitcoin is being viewed as a potential alternative asset that could help address the U.S. national debt, suggesting the possibility of significant future growth for Bitcoin. Third, the actions of U.S. state governments are noteworthy. If Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are accepted as payment methods, not only in the U.S. but in other countries as well, Bitcoin could solidify its position as a completely independent new asset, different from traditional ones. Wall Street legend Peter Lynch once said, "Know what you own and know why you own it." Don't follow others, establish your own criteria and make successful investments. Thank you for watching today's video until the end.